We are live on YouTube. We are live on TikTok. How is it going, everybody? It is divisional weekend, divisional playoff weekend in the NFL. We got the Bengals versus the Titans coming up in under 2 hours now. We got the Packers versus the 49ers tonight. A lot of good games this weekend. There is not a spread over 7 points this weekend. A lot of good games. I'm expecting a lot of good games really all weekend long. Kylo, that's a W. We did not get very many good games in round one. And I have to go perfect the rest of the way in the playoffs if we want to tie our 9 out of 11, or maybe it was 11 out of 13 picks in the playoffs last year. We're live on TikTok and YouTube as usual. And I do have my top 10 rankings ready for you guys for every single position. Let me have these scrolling at the bottom here, as we usually do on these lives. I didn't have these last round of the playoffs, but they were requested, so I got them done for this time around. It's only top 8 for quarterbacks and tight ends. But I'm here to answer your questions. I'll give you my thoughts on every single game. Let's hear what's going on, Ben. Sup, what's going on in the YouTube live? We're live on TikTok and YouTube. I am feeling pretty confident in my picks this round, except for just one game. There's really only one game I think can be very debated. So let me start off here on the YouTube live. I'm taking the Titans in this game for sure. If you're on the TikTok live, you can see the bracket I have behind me. But the Titans are beating the Bengals, guys, and I don't think this game is going to be particularly close. I think the Titans have a lot of advantages in this game. Derrick Henry is back. Guys, Derrick Henry is back. And this is a big deal. This is a very big deal for this game. And especially when you look at how the game went for the Bengals in their last game. The Bengals have not been a good run defense this season. They rank bottom 15 in the NFL against the run. They also had 3 defensive linemen get hurt in their last game, one of which is definitely not playing today. Another one is questionable still, unofficially active or inactive yet, and the other cleared concussion protocol. But they had 3 defensive linemen, the Bengals, go down last week, and they already weren't a very good run defense. Josh Jacobs averaged 6.4 yards a carry in the first round of the playoffs. The Bengals rank bottom 12 in the NFL as a run defense. This is not good news for the Bengals in this game. But the biggest reason I think you really have to be locking in the Titans and the Packers, both of who play today, is the bye week. The bye week is one of the most OP things in the NFL. Overpowered, for those of you that are still catching up. Getting a week off in an 18-week season, being one of only 2 teams, the only team in your division to get a week off in the playoffs and start preparing a week ahead of time. Such a massive, massive advantage for the Titans and the Packers, who, by the way, are already better than their opponents. Like, even if they didn't have the bye week, and even if they didn't have home field advantage, then I think we can start having arguments about who's winning these games. But even still, the Titans and the Packers, they're better than the Bengals and the 49ers. I'm sleeping on the Bengals. I'm sleeping on the 49ers. I am most confident in those 2 games. Player prop, I missed it. Who is your first round picks next year? Malachi, we got plenty of offseason to get to that, man. Plenty of offseason to get to that. But I have a few free prop picks for everyone today. One of which, though, is Derrick Henry. And I understand I'm taking a risk with this one. And this one's actually not in the WalterPicks app. I'm taking a risk with this one. But, guys, they set Derrick Henry's prop at 84.5. You can get it as low as 81.5 in some places. I would take this as high as 85.5. Derrick Henry's rushing prop, guys, all season long when he was playing, his rushing prop was over 110. They lowered it by 30 yards. And he's playing a bottom 12 rushing defense. So I like Derrick Henry's prop a lot. In the game tonight, I like Randall Cobb. I think Randall Cobb's prop is basically just a free money. They said it, I think, 22.5 or 24.5, depending where you are. But, guys, Randall Cobb is going to get at least 30 yards in this game. Marquez Valdes-Scantling is out. Randall Cobb played over 70% of the snaps in games without Scantling this season. So you better bet that Aaron Rodgers is going to be looking to his most veteran wide receiver in this game. And that's going to be Randall Cobb. So I'm taking Derrick Henry's over, and I'm taking Randall Cobb's over. Guys, if you've never used Prize Picks before, right now they have Patrick Mahomes prop at 0.5 yards. It's a free $20. It's a free $20. I got the King going over 75.5 yards. Sebastian, literally free money. That's basically free money. Thoughts on A.J. Brown today with both Henry and Julio active? Yeah, this question is coming from the YouTube Live. And by the way, if you come to the YouTube Live, link to that is in the TikTok bio. You can see my top 10 rankings, every single position for this weekend, as well as my picks against the spread for every single game. But I do expect A.J. Brown to have a good game too. Like, I'm not going to be betting against A.J. Brown. I think at least one of these two guys, Derrick Henry or A.J. Brown, is going to go absolutely off in this game, and I won't be surprised if it's both. Like, I will not be surprised if both of them go over 100 yards. And I think Julio Jones being active is pretty exciting. I read this week it was the first time since week 1 that Julio Jones got a full week of practice in with no limitations. I mean, think about how crazy that is. Julio Jones, his first time since week 1 that he got a full week of practice in. I mean, he has just been decimated by those hamstring injuries really for more than just this year. And he's back, and I think that's exciting, but I do not expect that to be a very big impact on A.J. Brown and Derrick Henry, at least negatively so. Titans and Packers. What app? Oh, it's called Prize Picks. Use the code Walter when you sign up. Titans and Packers. Yeah, so I'm taking Titans and Packers. Today. I think those are I'm feeling most confident about these two plays this whole weekend. I think the Titans and Packers both win. I feel better about the Titans spread than the Packers spread, but I think they both win. Don't underrate the bye. Don't underrate the bye week or home field advantage. I think tomorrow's games are much more debatable, though. So you don't believe in Joe. No, it's not that I don't believe in Joe. I think Joe Burrow's great. I mean, he had a great season. I think the Bengals have a very bright future. They still have another 2 years at least under Joe Burrow's contract, his rookie deal. This is when we see teams do the most, when they have their star future quarterbacks on their rookie deal. Just go look at the Seattle Seahawks and how that's turned out with Russell Wilson. But this isn't the Bengals' year, guys. Their defense just isn't that good. Their defense is going to really, really struggle against the Titans in this game. And they're on the road, and they're going up against a defense that had 2 weeks to prepare for the Bengals. I do think the Bengals offense can do fine in this game and still lose, by the way. Like, I won't be surprised if the Bengals score 30 points and lose in this game. What's most encouraging about the Bengals is their willingness to throw on the early downs. They throw out a higher percentage on early downs than almost every team in the NFL. They are willing to abandon the run, and I think that is a very smart thing for them to do. Joe Mixon has not had a good game in over a month. He's not had an impactful game in over a month. And it's probably not going to be in this game. The Titans have allowed a lot of passing yards, and they've been pretty good against the run. The Titans ranked bottom 10 against the pass this season. They ranked top 10 against the run this season. They're one of the sneakier pass funnel defenses, and that's obviously good. That's generally a good thing for the Bengals. Joe Burrow has completed over 70% of his passes, or over 68% of his passes in 5 straight games now. But I have a lot more confidence in the Titans defense than I do the Bengals defense. And that really is what it comes down to for me. What do you think about the Rams? Yeah, so I do think the Rams are the upset play of the weekend. I think the Rams are a more talented team than the Buccaneers. And I have very, very legitimate concerns about the Buccaneers offensive line in this game, too. The Buccaneers offensive line is pretty concerning. Titans by 4. Houday. Yeah, Houday is the Titans. The Titans are going to beat the Bengals. Appreciate all the work you put in, Sam. Thanks, Sebastian. Worried about Ryan Tannehill folding? Yeah, of course. You got to be a little bit worried about that in this game. That is the way for the Bengals to win. But the reason I'm not that worried about it, like not worried enough, Kevin, to not pick the Titans in this game is because Derrick Henry's back. The Bengals' defensive line is dealing with injuries. And the Bengals generally just were not good against the run this season. They allowed over 6 yards a carry to Josh Jacobs last week. Where's the Post-it notes on the wall this week? Yeah, I'm in a different location. So the Post-it notes left in the previous location. So no Post-it notes today, but I promise you, what you can't see, not on the screen, there's Post-it notes everywhere. Someone's asking about the Draftkings lineup. Yeah, I do have a Draftkings lineup for you guys that I like a lot. And I think the key to unlocking the weekend slate on DraftKings and on FanDuel, it's Randall Cobb. I think Randall Cobb unlocks the slate. If I get a Randall Cobb touchdown this weekend, I think all my DFS lineups are going to win. The other guy that I think is just way too cheap is A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown's like the 5th or 6th priced wide receiver on the slate. He could easily finish number 1. Easily. That is well within his range of outcomes. I can go either way on Rams and Bucks. Yeah. No Stables by you for post notes. Yeah. So I don't know if for the people watching live on TikTok last week, if you go to last week's YouTube live, I had post-it notes just like maybe 500 of them behind me on the YouTube live because I've been planning the future of the WalterPicks app over the past 2 weeks, 3 weeks, really. A lot of exciting improvements coming next season. Basically everything is going to be improved in the app next season. Very exciting. The free prop pick, if you guys missed it, is Derrick Henry. They set Derrick Henry's prop 30 yards below what it was all season. And there's obviously a little bit of risk with this because he is coming back from an injury and maybe he doesn't play as much as he usually does. But that's really not what all the reports are saying. All the reports that we've seen in the public are that Derrick Henry's been practicing basically in full all week and that he looks good and that he's not going to be on a limited snap count today. And all season long, Derrick Henry's prop for rushing yards was around 115. His average prop line this season was around 115 yards, and they set it at 85.5 today. I've seen it as low as 81.5. And the Bengals are they're a bottom 12 rush defense. Titans, Packers, Bills, Buccaneers. Yeah, I can respect that. If you take the Titans and Packers, I think I can be on board with your picks. Like I think those are the two that I think you're grasping at straws there. If you're not going to pick the Titans and the Packers today, the Titans and the Packers are winning. The Titans and the Packers are winning. The bye week is overpowered. Home field advantage plus the bye week is a very overpowered thing. Not to mention the Titans are better than the Bengals as is, and the Packers are already better than the 49ers. Plus they got an extra week to prepare, plus they're at home. I mean, you got to be taking the Titans and the Packers. I think the other two games can be very debated, and I'm taking the Chiefs and the Rams. The Chiefs game, guys, I haven't talked about it at all yet on this live. The Chiefs-Bills game to me is basically the Super Bowl of the AFC. Like, I'm excited to watch the Titans-Bengals game. I don't think either of those teams are beating the Chiefs or the Bills. I don't think the Bengals have really even remotely a chance to beat the Bills or the Chiefs. Maybe the Titans do if they can really establish the run early on in a game. But I don't see the Titans or the Bengals beating the Bills or the Chiefs. So I think the winner of the Bills-Chiefs game is going to the Super Bowl. And I really, like, everything in me wants to pick the Bills. Like, I want to pick the Bills. The Bills have a better defense than the Chiefs. And we obviously know that the offense is going to be able to keep up with the Chiefs offense. And so all of those reasons are pushing me to take the Bills. I just cannot get myself to pick against Patrick Mahomes at home. I think the home field advantage is really, for me, what is the deciding factor here. So I'm taking the Chiefs over the Bills. The other game, I'm taking the Rams over the Bucks. I'm taking the Rams over the Buccaneers because to me, the Rams are just a more talented team than the Buccaneers. And the Buccaneers' offensive line issues are going to be a very big problem for the Bucs. Tom Brady was the least sacked QB in the NFL this season. He's lost so many of his talented receivers, and now he's losing his talented offensive line. It sounds like Tristan Wirfs is going to try to go. But guys, if you watch the game, he tried to play in that game. It did not look good. So I'm taking the Rams. I think that the Rams have everything they need to beat the Buccaneers. They already beat the Buccaneers this season, actually. And the Bills, by the way, already beat the Chiefs this season. The Bills are probably the team that I'm most scared to pick against. I think they're the team I'm most scared to pick against. I'm not that scared to pick against the Buccaneers with all the guys that are dealing with injuries. And I'm not that scared to pick against the Bengals or the 49ers. I'm not that scared. Bengals fans, 49ers fans, tell me I'm sleeping. Maybe I'm sleeping. I like the Bengals offense. I like the 49ers offense. I think both defenses, though, right now are getting vastly overrated. Especially the Bengals defense with the defensive line injuries. All right, let me show you my top 10 wide receivers. If you're on the YouTube live, you can see my top 10 rankings, every single position. As usual, link to the YouTube lives in the TikTok bio. 49ers going all the way. Like I said, no, that's not happening. The 49ers are not going all the way. The Bengals, they're not going all the way. It's not happening. The Bengals, there's some people in the chat saying the Bengals going all the way. It's not happening, man. Because not only are they not going to beat the Titans, they're definitely not going to beat the Bills or the Chiefs. Nor are they going to beat the Packers, who they're probably going to have to play in the Super Bowl. I'm not sleeping on Joe Burrow. I like Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow is going to have a good game. I think Joe Burrow is like, Joe Burrow could throw for 400 yards in this game and they could still lose. Joe Burrow could throw for 400 yards in this game and they could still lose because the Bengals defense is going to struggle to stop the Titans offense. But the other big concern I have about the Bengals in this game is their offensive line. I think the offensive line was a really big concern going into the season. It wasn't as big of a concern throughout the season as we expected, but it's still a weakness of this team. Joe Burrow has been a top 5 most pressured QB in the league. His protection rate this season, 32nd in the NFL. Dead last. So if the Titans are able to get some pressure on Joe Burrow, I think that could be the difference in this game. Because I do think Joe Burrow is going to need a massive game to keep this one close. And again, I think he can do it. But the reason he doesn't do it, if he doesn't do it, it's going to be because of the offensive line. Burrow going to be the best QB behind Brady. That would be pretty cool. I could see it. I mean, he's young. He's certainly looking great. I do think that this isn't the Bengals' year, but I think that you have to feel so good as a Bengals fan. There's still 2 years left on Joe Burrow's rookie deal. And if you're a Bengals fan, I would not underestimate the importance of these next 2 years for the Bengals. What you can do on a elite quarterback's rookie contract is massive. I mean, you just look at the Seahawks. The Seahawks literally laid the blueprint. You need to surround Joe Burrow with a much, much better offensive line and defense moving forward. You have the talent on offense. How about Bucks versus Rams? Who do you like? Yeah, I'm taking the Rams in that game. Taking the Rams. Ayuka the Bazooka. I'm rooting for Ayuka the Bazooka today for sure. Burrow at 70% completion percentage. Yeah. So Joe Burrow's been at or above a 68% completion percentage in 5 straight games. In 5 straight games. He did it against the 49ers, 73.5% completion percentage, 348 yards. Against the Broncos, he only threw for 157, but he still had a 68% completion percentage. They kind of just dominated that game. Against the Ravens, who have a horrible secondary, 80% completion percentage, 525 yards. That's the game that Joe Burrow needs to win today. That's the game that Joe Burrow is going to need. 525 yards, 80% completion percentage. Against the Chiefs, 77% completion percentage, 446 yards. These games are all in a row, by the way. And then last week, he played pretty well against the Raiders. 70% completion percentage, 244 yards in his first ever playoff game. Joe Burrow passer rating down 30 points against teams that don't blitz. Yeah, so the Titans don't blitz very much. Titans are not as big as you are making them. So the Titans, don't get me wrong, the Titans defense is not great. Their run defense is good. And they have been able to generate pressure on quarterbacks. But they don't blitz very much. And someone said it in the comments, that's actually been a good thing. The Titans just so happen to blitz at the 10th lowest rate in the league. But they rank first in pressure rating at a whopping 27%. I'll say this one more time. I think this is a pretty interesting note going into this game. The Titans blitz at the 10th lowest rate in the league, and Joe Burrow has done worse against teams that do not blitz. He's good at picking up the blitz. But he still has not been very protected. Joe Burrow ranks 32nd in the NFL in protection rate. He's been sacked in the top 5 of the league. He's been hit in the top 5 of the league this season. This is why so many people were saying they should have drafted Penei Sewell over Jamar Chase, which at this point I feel like is tough to argue. But the Bengals' offensive line, nonetheless, is a big concern in this game. Not to mention, the Titans had a whole extra week to plan on how to get pressure on Joe Burrow without the blitz. Tennessee front 4 is nice. Yeah, they are nice. Joe Moneyline. No, not Joe Moneyline. So again, if you go to the YouTube live, you can see all my picks against the spread just scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Tyler Boyd over or under 45. I would go with the under there, Ryan. I generally lean towards the under on Tyler Boyd's props. And I don't think this game's much different. I do like T. Higgins props today, though. But my picks against the spread are this, and it's the same as my picks for the games because all the spreads are pretty small. I'm taking the Titans as 4-point favorites over the Bengals. That one for me is a lock. I've been 61% accurate, by the way, in the locks this season. The Packers I'm taking as 5.5-point favorites over the 49ers. Again, I think that the Packers and Titans, I would not sleep on the value of the bye. I feel like a lot of people who are picking the Bengals and who are picking the 49ers are really underestimating the value of a bye week. It's extremely overpowered right now. There's only one team that gets this bye. It was an 18-week season. And they just got a full week to rest, recover, get Derrick Henry back, get the Packers offensive line back and healthy, and also just prepare for the team they're playing against for an extra week. I know they didn't know who they were playing for half that bye week. But you better bet they were preparing for both teams that they could have played. So I'm taking the Titans and the Bengals. And I mean the Titans and the Packers. And I would not advise you to do otherwise. Those are the teams that I'm most confident in this weekend. Owen, I like this a lot. Owen on the YouTube live saying he has Derrick Henry 75-plus yards and 1 touchdown. I like that a lot. Again, Derrick Henry's prop is one of my favorites this weekend. It's actually not in the WalterPicks app. There's 9 player props, by the way, in the WalterPicks app. Link to that in the TikTok bio. Actually, it's not in the TikTok bio. Right now in the TikTok bio is to go vote for us. There's only one day left to go vote. We got nominated for the Best Fantasy Sports Social Media Award. And it takes you 2 seconds to vote. And literally anyone can vote. Everyone listening can go vote. We have an actual chance against some very real competition. So I would appreciate any votes. If we helped you out at all this season, me or any of the other 32 TikTok content creators that we have, toss us a vote. Really do appreciate that. Again, that's in the TikTok bio and the YouTube description. But also you can get all of our player props in the WalterPicks app. Just look up WalterPicks on the App Store or go to the YouTube description. But I do like Derrick Henry over 85.5 rushing yards today. With the Titans' pass defense being so bad, I do think the Bengals do have a chance. If the Bengals could get an early lead, I can't see Tannehill making a comeback. Kevin, I don't think this is a horrible take. But I will say the Titans can still run and come back in this game because the Bengals defensive line is going to be a big issue in this game. Go vote. Thank you, Kylo. Rams or Bucks? Yeah, I'm taking the Rams over the Bucks. Yeah, so again, I think the 2 games today are my 2 most confident games. I'm taking the Titans and the Packers in these games. The bye week and home field advantage, massive, massive deal. Don't underrate the value of the bye and home field advantage. Okay, the other 2 games, though, we can debate these games, I think, honestly, for 24 straight hours, which is when these games are going to be played. The Chiefs, I wanted to take the Bills. Everything in me was telling me to take the Bills. I did, in the video I made about this, I laid out exactly why you should probably take the Bills. The Bills have a better defense than the Chiefs. Their defense is just straight up better than the Chiefs' defense, and their offense is arguably just as good as the Chiefs' offense. Like the Bills' offense can keep up with the Chiefs' offense. There's very few offenses in the league that you can say that about. The Packers are one of them, by the way. But the Chiefs are at home. And I have this thing about Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. I think that in my lifetime, and I'll obviously be doing this for a long time, I've only been making content about sports for about 3 or 4 years now. And I don't think I've picked against Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs even a single time. And I think I'm just going to keep doing that. I think I'm going to stick with that strategy. I don't want to pick against Mahomes. So I'm going with the Chiefs. And again, the Chiefs, the big difference, the thing you got to understand about the Chiefs offense, and these 2 teams played in the regular season, and the Bills won this game handedly. I went back and actually watched that game again this week. I go back, by the way, I watch every single game at least once. Most games, at least the biggest games, I go back and watch at least twice. So this game now I've seen 3 times. I watched the Bills-Chiefs game again this week. I'd already watched it twice. The Bills won that game 38-20, and really the offense was unstoppable. And it was similar to the Pats game where the Bills' offense, they could have scored more points, but the game was kind of already over, so they just stopped. Like the Bills could have scored a lot more points against the Patriots if the game wasn't already over. It was similar when they played the Chiefs, but this was a while ago. This was back in week 5. This game was week 5 when the Bills beat the Chiefs 38-20. But here's the thing. The Chiefs are scoring more than 20 points this time. The Chiefs are scoring at least 30 points in this game. And I know the Bills' defense is good, but the Chiefs are scoring at least 30 points in this game. And that's going to be the biggest difference. That's going to be the biggest difference from this game to the last one. I don't think you're wrong for picking the Bills. I don't. Again, I think this game can be debated a lot. But to me, what tips the scale for me about the Chiefs versus the Bills is the Chiefs are at home. The Chiefs are at home. And are the Bills really going to go into Kansas City twice this season and beat Kansas City? I just don't see that happening. So I'm going with the Chiefs. And then for the Rams-Buccaneers game, I'm going with the Rams. This is my one upset of the 4 games this weekend that I'm taking. The Rams are a more talented team than the Bucs. The only reason the Bucs are favored are because they're at home. But the Buccaneers also have some really, really concerning injuries. They've just lost so much talent on the roster. It's not the same team as last year. Like going into week 1 this year, they were returning all 22 starters from their Super Bowl victory last year. And they've lost so many of those guys now. So many of those guys are gone. And Tristan Wirfs, that injury, I think, is a very big deal as well. Tom Brady was the least sacked QB in the NFL this season. The least sacked quarterback in the NFL this season. Chiefs had a lot of missing players week 5. Yeah, I know. They did. The Chiefs had a lot of guys out in that week 5. That was also week 5. It was like 3 months ago. Maybe a little bit more. 3 months ago. I'm picking the Chiefs, by the way. Buddy. I'm still picking the Chiefs. Again, I don't think that we're going to see the same outcome as that game. The Chiefs are scoring more than 20 points this time around. But I do still think the Bills could put up 38. I do still think that's possible. So the Buccaneers had their center and their tackle, 2 of their best offensive linemen, get hurt last game. It sounds like the center's going to play. It sounds like Tristan Wirfs is going to try to play too. But both guys are going to be trying to battle through injuries. Ryan Jensen, Tristan Wirfs, center and right tackle. And that's not good against the Rams. Joe Burrow taking the dub. No, I don't think so. Very different Chiefs playing the Bills. Yeah, 100%. 100% agree. 100% agree. And yeah, Mahomes had a kind of up and down season, but he's on the up right now. Like, I'm just not picking against Mahomes. It's exactly why I'm picking the Chiefs. It's exactly why. Who's the best pick for QB? If you're talking about daily fantasy this weekend, it's probably Josh Allen, but he's the most expensive. I'm actually going with Matthew Stafford in my Draftkings lineup. I'll pull that up on the YouTube live right now. Anyone playing on Draftkings this weekend. I went with Matthew Stafford in mine. I think that the Rams are going to throw a lot against the Bucs. The Bucs, all season, they've been a pass funnel defense. Playing the Steelers was pretty much a bye. Thank you, the Steelers, for waking the Chiefs. Yeah, agree. I said that before the game, too. There was a lot of people in this same live 1 week ago that were like, well, watch out for the Steelers. No, the Chiefs had a bye week basically last week, too. Again, the bye, don't underestimate the power of bye. But I'm not going to lie. You could argue the Bills had a bye week, too. I mean, that game was a joke. The Bills breeze past the Pats even easier than the Chiefs breeze past the Steelers, at least offensively. Neither team, like both teams, like I feel like the Bills maybe tried harder than the Chiefs, but they still were breezing even easier than the Chiefs were. So both teams had a pretty easy first round. But I would agree with you that the Steelers were an easier matchup than the Pats. Niners are more hungry. No, that's not a thing. No, both teams are very hungry. And the Packers are better than the 49ers. And the Packers are at home. And the Packers also just had a bye. What's going on, Ryan? I have Bills, but I can go back and forth too. Yeah, you definitely should be able to go back and forth. Sam, thoughts on these two props? Burrow over half an interception. Kittle under 50.5 reception yards. I don't like the Kittle under. Kittle has been very interesting prop-wise recently because I think he's gone under 50 yards, maybe 4 straight games, 5 straight games maybe for George Kittle. I think he's gone 5 straight games under 50 yards. Might have been under 40 yards. He has not been a big factor in the passing game. He's been obviously a huge factor in the run game, which is why George Kittle is so good. George Kittle is closer to Rob Gronkowski than Travis Kelce is. I think I would die on that hill. Travis Kelce is more of just a dominant wide receiver, whereas Gronk, especially in his prime, and George Kittle now, they're both like as good as offensive linemen in terms of blocking. That's not what Kelce brings. He's just never really asked to do that. But Kittle has had I was right, he has had under 30 yards in 4 straight games. The 3 games before that streak started, though, he had 150 yards, 93 yards, 181 yards. 3 straight games with at least 90 yards. And then he followed it up with 4 straight games with under 30 yards. And in all of those games, it's not like he's not playing a lot. He's out there for over 93% of the snaps in all those games. But he has had just 3 targets. 3 targets or less in 3 of those 4. I don't think that trend continues, though, today. I don't think that trend continues tonight. I would not take the under on Kittle's prop. which is set at 50.5. Again, he's been under 30 in 4 straight games, and I still think he's going over in this game tonight. Because I expect the Packers offense to move the ball pretty easily against the 49ers. The 49ers secondary still doesn't scare me very much. I think the Packers are going to be able to throw pretty easily. And for that reason, I think the 49ers are going to just need Kittle to be involved in the offense in terms of his catching ability, less so than his blocking, as it's been. Thank you for tuning in, by the way, guys. I say this at least once per stream. I think time is the most valuable thing we have. So I appreciate you guys just spending even a moment with me today. Do you like Ja'Marr Chase? Yards at 77.5 and 6 receptions. Yeah, Josh, listen, I don't think there will be a time. I don't think there will be a time where I tell you to go against Ja'Marr Chase's prop. It's the same thing with A.J. Brown's prop. It's the same thing with Cooper Kupp's prop. Honestly, all three of those guys. Maybe you could argue A.J. Brown wasn't in that tier. This season, I still think moving forward he is. But yeah, take the Ja'Marr Chase prop. Like, take the A.J. Brown prop. Like, take the Cooper Kupp prop. 77.5 is pretty fair. I think it was actually at 72.5 on PrizePicks, though. And you got to be shopping for the best lines. We got an interesting question here on the YouTube live, which I think is a pretty good question. Why did COVID disappear from the NFL? There's not a single NFL player in COVID protocols right now. And if you played fantasy this season, which most of you probably did, you're like, what? There's not a single player in the COVID protocols? There was, dozens and dozens and dozens of players in the COVID protocols all season. It's because they changed the protocols. They changed them. If you're vaccinated, not getting tested anymore, or at least very, very, very infrequently. And that's over 90% of the league. So they basically just stopped testing. So it didn't disappear. They just stopped testing. So that's how they changed the protocols. Whatever you think about that, that's why. They stopped testing. Best cheap long shot in DraftKings. Ryan, yeah, it's Randall Cobb, man. It's Randall Cobb. Don't get me wrong. Niners win would 100% be an upset, but closer than it seems. Why Titans? Yeah, okay. Let me talk about that. The 2 games today a little bit more. But I think my favorite long shot is in the game tonight. And it's Randall Cobb. And I like Randall Cobb's prop a lot, too. They set it at 22.5. I think it's 24.5 on Underdog Fantasy. I think it's at 22.5 on PrizePicks. I think if you went to DraftKings or FanDuel, it'd be around 24.5. I think he goes for at least 30 yards in this game, though. And here's why. Marquez Valdes-Scantling is out tonight. Or if he hasn't been officially ruled out, then it's coming soon. And in games without Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Randall Cobb has done pretty well, and he's played a lot. I expect Randall Cobb to play at least 70% of the snaps tonight. And again, I don't think the 49ers secondary is very good. They rank bottom half of the league this season, and they've let up a lot of big performances against the slot. So I expect Aaron Rodgers to use his most veteran wide receiver. And it's not going to take much for Randall Cobb to beat this prop. He could easily do this in one play. He could easily do this in one drive. But he's also really cheap on DraftKings and FanDuel. So I like Randall Cobb for that reason this weekend too. And that game's tonight. I have the Packers winning that game. I do expect the 49ers to keep it relatively close. Like, I think the 49ers offense is dynamic enough to keep up. And again, that's why I wouldn't be taking George Kittle's under. I think George Kittle could go for close to 100 yards today, even though he's been under 30 yards in 4 straight games. So I would be careful, tread cautiously with the George Kittle under. But I do like the Randall Cobb over. It's just set so low. He needs 2 or 3 catches to beat this prop, and he could easily get more than that in a playoff game. He could be the second most trusted receiver for Aaron Rodgers today, after, of course, the GOAT himself, Devontae Adams. But yeah, going back to who I think is going to win, I think the 2 games I'm most confident in, they're both happening today. The Titans and the Packers, they're both winning. Again, do not underestimate the value of the bye week and the value of home field advantage. Both those things combined are super OP, just very overpowered. So again, going back to the Randall Cobb take really quickly. Randall Cobb has played in 6 games with Marquez Valdes-Scantling, and he's played in 4 games without Marquez Valdes-Scantling this season. In the 4 games without, his production increased by 75% in the 4 games without him. He averaged a whole nother reception per game. He averaged 2 more targets per game, and he averaged a lot more touchdowns per game. He averaged 1 touchdown per game in the 4 games without Scantling this season. I do like Randall Cobb's odds to score a TD tonight too, which is why ultimately I like him in the in DFS. Niners beating Rodgers, sadly. I like that. Ben Silva. I've never actually heard that one. Rodgers. It's a funny one. I'm genuinely I think that Aaron Rodgers will win the MVP. I think he deserves to win the MVP. I think he had a great season on the field. I'm genuinely not a big fan of him. Like, it's not hard for me to root against Aaron Rodgers. I like Rodgers. I like that. But he's going to win today. He's going to win today. And I'm just going to be honest here. The Packers are going to beat the 49ers. Because the Packers are not, it's not fraud, like they're not fraudulent. They're very good. The offense is very real. And they also had a bye. They had a whole extra week to prepare for this game, and they're at home. And the 49ers don't pose such a good threat defensively in the secondary. So how are they going to stop Aaron Rodgers in the passing attack? Or Rodgers? You're smoking. No, I'm not smoking. I'm not smoking. The Packers and the Titans are winning today. I would not underestimate them. The other two games, I think, can be debated all day long. All day long. And I'm taking the Chiefs over the Bills. I think this is a much different Chiefs team than the team that lost to the Bills back in week 5. They lost 38-20 in that game. But I don't think the Bills go into Kansas City twice this season and beat the Chiefs. I don't see that happening. But I think it's super close, super close. And I think that if you're picking the Bills, then you can have a very good argument to do so. The Bills' defense is better than the Chiefs' defense, and the Bills' offense is arguably just as good as the Chiefs' offense. So I think there's a good argument both sides there. The Rams versus the Bucs, I hate picking against Tom Brady. I picked against Tom Brady in the Super Bowl last year. That was one of my 2 picks that I got wrong in the playoffs last year. I already got 2 picks wrong this season, by the way, so I got to go perfect rest of the way to tie what I did last season. I don't like picking against Tom Brady, but you just have to admit the fact this is not the same Buccaneers team that it was last season. And this was what was so exciting going into this season for the Bucs. They were returning their whole team. Everyone, all 22 starters from last season's Super Bowl team returned this year. And now so many of them are gone or injured. Antonio Brown, gone. Chris Godwin, gone. A few guys on the defense, gone. Tristan Wirfs dealing with an injury, their right tackle. Their center, Ryan Jensen, dealing with an injury. This is a much different Buccaneers team, a much worse Buccaneers team than what it was last year. Not that they don't have a chance to win this game. They absolutely do. Like, this is an upset. The Rams beating the Bucs in Tampa is an upset, but the Rams are more talented than the Buccaneers. Bengals are winning, is taking over this chat. Yeah, there's a lot of Bengals fans in the chat, and don't get me wrong, Bengals fans. I do like Joe Burrow. And I like the Joe Burrow, and I don't like sleeping on Joe Burrow, and I actually think that the Bengals are one of the most exciting franchises moving forward over the next 2 years because you're in a unique opportunity where you know how good and how elite your offensive weapons are, but you still have 2 more years after this season, another 2 more seasons on Joe Burrow's rookie. Yeah, they stopped testing. Exactly. You still have another 2 seasons on Joe Burrow's rookie deal, which is massive. It's massive. This is the window of opportunity for the Bengals because whenever they have to pay Joe Burrow, and they're going to soon after have to pay Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, like that, this is when it's going to be tough to surround them with a good defense and a good offensive line. But the reason I am sleeping on the Bengals today and the reason I'm picking the Titans is the Bengals offensive line is going to struggle against the Titans. The Bengals have struggled against teams that do not blitz. The Titans blitz at the 10th lowest rate in the league, but they generate the top 10 most pressure in the league without blitzing. The defensive line for the Titans versus the offensive line for the Bengals is ultimately the reason the Bengals aren't going to win this game. But on top of that, the Titans offense versus the Bengals defense is going to, this game isn't just Joe Burrow, guys. It's not just Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is going to have a good game. When he has clean pockets and he's not under pressure, Joe Burrow is going to complete a lot of passes. And Jamar Chase is going to eat. I'm not recommending you take the under on Jamar Chase's prop or anything. But I expect Joe Burrow to get sacked a lot in this game, and I expect the Titans offense to move pretty easily. Say Boyd first TD. I don't like that. I say Super Bowl is going to be Chiefs-Packers. Yeah, definitely that one could happen. He don't need a clean pocket. No, he does. He does need a clean pocket. I would argue this one, I think, pretty strongly. He does need a clean pocket. Joe Burrow was, let me pull this up really quickly. Listen to this. Joe Burrow was number 32 in the NFL in protection rate this season. On over a fourth of his snaps, he was basically not protected well. That's what that stat says, which ranked 32nd in the NFL. But when he had a clean pocket, when Joe Burrow had a clean pocket, he ranked number 1 in the NFL. He was the most accurate QB in the NFL this season when he had a clean pocket. So don't tell me he doesn't need a clean pocket. Don't tell me he doesn't need a clean pocket. He had the highest completion percentage. He completed 76.2% of his passes when he had a clean pocket this season. He just didn't have a clean pocket all that often, which is the big issue with this offense. This is the biggest problem with the offense. If you inserted the Buccaneers offensive line onto the Bengals would be Super Bowl contenders. Because their offense could score 40 points in any game. But they're not going to be able to protect Joe Burrow fully in this game against the Titans defensive line. Again, they rank bottom 10 in blitz rate, but top 10 in pressure rate. That's a tough defense for this Bengals offensive line, who again have done worse. Joe Burrow has done worse against teams that blitz less. I'm a Bills fan. When the Bengals win today, I better make a video seeing how wrong you were. I probably won't make that video. I'm going to be totally honest with you. And don't get me wrong. Like this isn't. It's not like this game's a massive spread. It's not like this is like a massive would be a massive upset. They're 4-point underdogs. The 49ers are only 5.5-point underdogs. But I would be surprised if the Bengals won, and I would be surprised if the 49ers won. Again, I would not underrate the power. Don't underrate the value of the bye week and home field advantage. Don't do that. Don't do that. Again, the free prop pick today. I know we're about an hour from kickoff, probably about 30 minutes left in the live. Thanks again for everyone who's tuned in. The free prop pick today, I'm taking Derrick Henry over 85.5 rushing yards. His prop has been in the hundreds all season long, and I know there's some risk here coming off an injury. But the Bengals run defense also ranks bottom 12 in the league this season. Since coming back from injury week, one big plays. He's insane in a clean pocket, but he's gotten better. Yeah, I agree with you. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Joe Burrow sucks without a clean pocket. But he's definitely much better with a clean pocket. Again, ranks number 1 in completion percentage in the NFL with a clean pocket, and he's just not going to have that today. Joe Burrow is not the problem. He's clearly not the problem. Like, Joe Burrow is not the reason they're going to lose. Jamar Chase is not the reason they're going to lose. The reason that the Bengals are going to lose is their offensive line and their defense. That's the reason. And that's really what the Bengals need to focus on over the next 2 years. With the small window of opportunity that they have, with Joe Burrow on his rookie deal and Jamar Chase on his rookie deal and T. Higgins on his rookie deal, they need to get a better offensive line and defense surrounding them. Because if they can do that, they have real Super Bowl opportunity. But they don't right now. The defense isn't good enough. They had 3 defensive linemen get hurt last week. 2 of them, it looks like, are going to be able to play in this game, but one of them is going to be playing through a pretty serious injury. The other, they lost. One of their best defensive linemen out for this game. They already weren't very good against the run. Rams or Bucks? Yeah, so I'm taking the Rams over the Bucks. I just think they're the more talented team. But again, I feel more confident about the Titans and the Packers today than I do about the Chiefs and the Rams tomorrow. But I do like the Rams, especially with the points against the spread. I won't be surprised at all when the Rams beat the Bucks. That's why I'm taking them. The Bucks are just not the same team that they were last season. They've lost so many guys. I'm concerned for the Bengals O-line and run stop. Yeah, so they do have, I'm not going to try to pronounce his name. It's like Ojunobi, I think like the G sounds like a silent G. Ojunobi. But if you've been watching me for long now, I'm horrible with pronunciation. First team, LO, every year we get people who pick against Brady. Yeah, I know. So I picked against Brady in the Super Bowl last year, and it was a mistake. I didn't pick against him the rest of the playoffs. And I'm a Pats fan too. I don't like picking against Brady. I don't like close. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I don't like picking against Brady. Someone asked about first TDs. People love the first TDs. I like the first TDs too, but just be careful. Don't put too much money on the first TD bets. I'm telling you, these are one of the worst value bets that you can find. But these are the guys that I like to score touchdowns today. I'm not going to try to guess which one's going to go first. But in the Titans, I would just be riding with Derrick Henry. I think if the Titans start with the ball, Derrick Henry scoring a touchdown. For the Packers, I like the odds for Randall Cobb. I really like the value with Randall Cobb. I think Randall Cobb's my favorite prop of the weekend if it's not Derrick Henry. And I like the odds of Randall Cobb scoring a touchdown. Guys, there was 4 games this season that Randall Cobb played in that Marquez Valdes-Scantling did not play in. Again, Scantling's out tonight. In those 4 games, Randall Cobb averaged 1 touchdown per game. He had 4 touchdowns in those 4 games. So I like Randall Cobb to score a TD today, period. I mean, will it be the first one? I can't promise you that. But I do think he'll score a touchdown tonight. And I do think he goes over his 22.5 or 24.5 to depending where you're looking, receiving yards as well. Lazard greater than Cobb, 100% your captain. No, so like Lazard has been better than Cobb this season. I'm just reading you the stats in the games that Cobb played in without Scanlon. Totally off topic, but are you from New York? I see you wearing an Ithaca soccer shirt. No, I'm not from New York, but I did go to Ithaca College. I did play there for 4 years. I was the captain for 2 seasons on the soccer team, led the Ithaca soccer team to its most winning season my senior year. But no, I'm in Boston now. Burrow and Chase won't be stopped till the AFC Championship. Yeah, like they're not going to be stopped in this game. Don't get me wrong here. Yeah, God, Ryan, don't bring this up. That Burrow and Chase are not going to be stopped. But that doesn't mean the Bengals are going to win. It doesn't mean the Bengals are going to win. Burrow and Chase can have a good game today and still lose. This is my take. This is like, I don't think that me picking against the Bengals means that I think that Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase are going to have a bad game. I wouldn't be betting against these guys to have bad games. Like, I think they're going to have good games. But the offensive line and the defense are the reason that they're going to lose to the Titans. Bucks or Rams? I'm going with the Rams. Let me know in the comments, by the way, what you guys think. What are you guys plays today? What do you disagree with me on? I like disagreement. I embrace the disagreement. Pick of Devontae. I don't know if I have a pick of Devontae, man. I don't know if I got that one because I wanted to get the pick of Randall Cobb. I went with a pick of Randall Cobb over a pick of Devontae Adams. I'm sorry about that. I do have a pick of Rodgers, though. And, guys, this is the MVP. Aaron Rodgers is the MVP. He had the most efficient season. Tom Brady led the league in yards and touchdowns, I think, by like kind of a considerable margin. I honestly don't feel like Tom Brady got quite enough love in the MVP debate this season. But it's going to be Aaron Rodgers. I think that much is pretty clear at this point. And he's going to have a good game against the 49ers, who have really struggled. 49ers have struggled as a secondary. And Aaron Rodgers, he does have the number 1 passer rating this season. The highest QBR this season. He's top 5 in completion percentage. He's number 1 in adjusted yards per attempt. I mean, he's been on the money this year. He deserves the MVP. Don't get me wrong. He deserves the MVP. And he's going to beat the 49ers today. Rodgers wins the Super Bowl and leaves Green Bay. That would be the last dance. Like, that would be pretty cool that he said it before the season. I thought this was actually kind of like a lame thing of him to do before the season. But it becomes cooler and cooler and more baller every week, really. Like, every week that Rodgers becomes closer and closer to winning the Super Bowl, the more and more respect I have for him for posting that last dance photo on Instagram. I don't have it. I wish I could bring it up. But that would be cool. If he posted the last dance, both him and Devontae post that last dance photo, and they both are just out. So, and by the way, so Josh is asking in the YouTube live. Someone else brought this up in the TikTok live. I like the Randall Cobb touchdown prop today. I like Randall Cobb in DFS, but that doesn't mean I think he's going to do better than Lazard. Like, Lazard should do better than Cobb. Lazard's prop line is 20 yards ahead of Cobb's. His odds to score a touchdown are much higher. I like the value for Cobb more, though. I like the value for Cobb because I won't be surprised if Cobb does do better than Lazard. I'm not expecting it, but I just won't be surprised if it happens. I think Cobb is probably the best slept-on player to play in DFS and props this weekend. I think he goes over 30 yards and scores a touchdown. I also think George Kittle has a big bounce-back game today. And I don't think that the 49ers beat the Packers. Again, these things are not mutually exclusive. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, they can have good games and still lose to the Titans. Joe Burrow could throw for 400 yards and lose to the Titans. George Kittle has not gone over 30 receiving yards in 4 straight games. And I think that stops tonight. Because I think the Packers offense is going to move the ball pretty easily against the 49ers defense. I know Nick Bosa is back, and Nick Bosa will have an impact on this game. But the Packers offensive line is also playing at a they're really playing at a top 5 level in the league right now. Aaron Rodgers was the number 3rd best protected QB in the league this season. So I think George Kittle is going to have to get more involved as a receiver in this game. Niners defense will win the game today. If the Niners do win, you're right. It'll be because of the defense. It will be because of the defense. The Niners defense needs to hold the Packers under 30 points in this game, and I don't think they're going to be able to do that. I do agree with you. I think it will be a close game. But I will take the Packers in this game, and I will take the Titans in this game, and I would argue that these are the two games that you should probably be most confident about in terms of who's going to win, the Titans and the Packers. Don't underestimate the value of the bye and home field advantage. It will be because of our running game and Deebo Samuel. Yeah, I do not think you're going to run as well. So these teams already played. Like Packers and 49ers, they've already played each other. And the last time they played, let me pull this up, was also quite a while ago, back in week 3. And in that game, the 49ers did throw the ball pretty effectively. Jimmy Garoppolo had 257 yards and 2 touchdowns in that game. They did not run very effectively, but they also had Trey Sermon as their top running back. Deebo Samuel wasn't being used as a running back at the time. Elijah Mitchell was out in that game. It was week 3. A lot has changed since week 3. Packers did score 30 points in that game, though. Who won your league? So I was the commissioner of the 32-person fantasy league. I was the commissioner. The 32 people in the league, they were our 32 TikTok content creators. You can go follow them. I'm following them all on my account. So if you just go to my bio, you can see each of the accounts. But the Raiders, they won. Brian, our Raiders creator, he won. He has been crowned as the best fantasy football player on the WalterPicks team. He has won the most competitive fantasy football league that I've ever seen. What happened to Jair Alexander? Is he playing? Yeah, so Jair Alexander is playing. And that's a pretty big development. It wasn't 100% sure if he was going to play. Let me pull this up. He hasn't played in a while. The update with Jair Alexander, who's the top corner. He's the top corner for the Packers. He has not played since week 4. And he was listed as questionable, but he got in a week of limited practices. It seems like he's going to play. He's not been officially activated, though. But he's the most talented corner they have, so a pretty big deal. What did he get for winning the fantasy league? Yeah, so he got a couple free tickets to any game of his choice next season, and he's getting a massive trophy that I'm going to deliver to him. He got a lifetime free subscription to the WalterPicks app and a bunch of gear as well. And, of course, lifetime bragging rights as well. Someone's asking about the props. So there's a couple props that I like a lot. And you can, by the way, we have 9 player props identified in the WalterPicks app by Walter, our artificially intelligent algorithm that powers the WalterPicks app that I helped build. You can check all those out in the WalterPicks app right now. You can start your free trial, 7 days, and get access to all of them. That is in the WalterPicks app on the on the iOS App Store and the Google Play Store. Android people, we're here. But the 2 props I like Derrick Henry over 84.5 rushing, 85.5 rushing yards. You can get as low as 81.5 rushing yards on PrizePicks. If you have never used PrizePicks before, too, you'll get a deposit match if you use the code Walter. But Derrick Henry's prop was in the hundreds all season. All season, it was in the hundreds. And all of a sudden, he's coming back from injury, and the people who are making the prop lines are doubting Derrick Henry. They're doubting that he's ready to go, and I would not be doing that. I would not be doing that, especially against the Bengals defense. And there's another big reason why you got to be on the Titans today. The Bengals run defense is bottom 12 in the league. They had 3 of their defensive linemen get hurt in the last game. And now Derrick Henry is apparently running at full speed, at full strength. He's well conditioned. He's not going to be seeing any limited snaps, and he has literal metal in his foot. So they're going to have a metallic Derrick Henry running down at them today. So I'm taking him over 85.5 rushing yards, but I also do like Randall Cobb's prop over 24.5 receiving yards. I think that's just way too low. I think he goes over 30 yards and scores a touchdown this week. Rams going to the Super Bowl? Probably not, but they certainly have the talent to do so. I mean, they're clearly all in. Like, really, they should. They should have the talent to make it to the Super Bowl. But they're underdogs because they've been underperforming their talent level. But I am taking the Rams this week over the Buccaneers. Again, here's my picks. I'm taking the Titans, I'm taking the Packers, I'm taking the Chiefs, and I'm taking the Rams. And the 2 teams that I'm most confident in are the Titans and the Packers, who had the bye week and are playing at home. The Bengals defense played perfect against the Raiders. Yeah, but that doesn't mean the Bengals defense is going to play perfect this week. The Titans offense is better than the Raiders offense. And the Bengals defense hasn't been great this season. The Bengals defense ranks bottom 12 against the run. That's not very good when you're going up against Derrick Henry and the Titans offense, who are coming off a bye. Packers versus Bengals in the Super Bowl. No, the Bengals are not making it to the Super Bowl. Because if the Bengals beat the Titans, which they definitely could. Don't get me wrong, I'm picking the Titans. The Bengals could win. I would be surprised, but it could happen. But if they do, they're not beating the Bills, and they're not beating the Chiefs. So sorry, Bengals fans, you're not making it to the Super Bowl. You're not making the Super Bowl. They're not going into Buffalo or into Kansas City after going into Tennessee and winning that game. There's just no way. There's no way the Bengals are doing that. That would be absolutely shocking. With the defense and offensive line that they have, absolutely shocking if they could do that. The Rams have a better chance to make it to the Super Bowl than the Bengals do. When do the Packers play? The Packers play tonight. Titans money line minus 200. Already maxed out the spread, but want more money on Titans. LOL. Yeah, so I have the Titans as a lock. I usually don't recommend maxing anything out. I think units is the best way to approach things. So if you already maxed out something on the Titans, I would probably just chill. But I do like the Titans. Like, I'm with you. I do like it. I think the Titans beat the Bengals. Who scores first TD in Titans-Bengals game? I would go with Derrick Henry. I would go, if you're going to bet on someone to score first TD, I would just go with the King. Cobb in Caesars is 29.5. Yeah, that's pretty high. That's the highest I've heard. I would probably only take Cobb up to 24.5. And again, he's on PrizePicks, I think at 22.5. Underdog, he's on 24.5. Got someone in the YouTube live saying the Bengals just aren't that good yet. They're missing some key spots. And I don't fully disagree with you. I would argue that they're good. The Bengals are good. But they're not Super Bowl contenders yet. That's what I would say. I don't think they're Super Bowl contenders yet. But they have a window of opportunity here. If you're a Bengals fan, even if the Bengals lose today, you got to be feeling very, very optimistic about the future over the next 2 years. They have Joe Burrow under a rookie contract for the next 2 seasons. This is a lot like the Seattle Seahawks Russell Wilson situation. They got the offensive talent figured out. They got the toughest position in the NFL figured out. But they got to improve the defense, and they have to improve the offensive line. And they have weapons. They do have some talent on the defense. It's not like the defense is horrible. But they are bottom 12 against the run, and they're about middle of the pack against the pass. They got to improve both those things, and then they got to get a better offensive line. And if they do those 2 things this offseason, they can be Super Bowl contenders next year. Who scores the first TD in the Packers 49ers game? Yeah, so Trent, I think the best value for touchdown scorer in the Packers game is Randall Cobb. Yeah, so let me pull up the weather, actually. This is a good point. The Packers game is tonight in Green Bay. So let's see what the weather is looking like in that game. And if it'll probably be very cold, I would assume. But there's no wind. There's no wind to be worried about. So putting on my weather reporter cap really quick here in the last 15 minutes of the live. I will get to as many comments as I can too on the YouTube live and TikTok live before we wrap up, as always. But the Bengals and the Titans, they're playing in a 33-degree game. Really no weather concerns at all. It looks sunny, no wind. There's not even wind over 5 miles an hour. There's no wind over 10 miles an hour in any game this weekend. So the wind, not a factor, which is huge because the wind is the biggest thing to be worried about. We've done research on this. Wind over 25 miles an hour is a big deal. We don't have any of that this weekend. But tonight is the coldest game. Packers versus the 49ers, 11 degrees. I would guess that means it's going to feel close to 0 degrees. It's probably going to feel close to 0 degrees in this game. Feels like -2. There you go. Feels like -2 degrees Fahrenheit tonight. Cobb is always making touchdowns because Rodgers can rely on him and Adams. Yeah, great. Niners over Packers, I disagree with you there. But I do like the value for Randall Cobb tonight. I think that he is going to be more involved without Scantling. There's just proof already. Thank you, Trent. I appreciate it, man. There's proof already of what Randall Cobb does without Scantling in the lineup. Like he sees over 2 targets more per game. He's on the field close to 70% of the snaps. With Scantling, it's closer to 30 to 40% of the snaps. We have a relatively decently sized sample size. Over under in the Titans game. Yeah, the over unders, man. I guess I would take the over. It does feel like the Titans and the Bengals, both of their offensive strengths match up with the defense's weakness a little bit. Especially for the Titans. The Bengals' run defense is the weak point of the defense, especially because 3 of their defensive linemen got hurt last week. And though it does look like 2 of those 3 are going to play today. They still had a lot of defensive lineman injuries last week. So I don't hate the over in terms of the over-under. But the over-unders, guys, they're probably my least favorite bets. I mean, the lines are set so well. They set those lines so well. I remember last year it was week 10 of the NFL season, and 50% of the games had gone over and 50% of the games had gone under. That's just absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. Thanks, Kyle. Thanks for tuning in, man. Good luck this weekend. I'm curious on who will play the Packers after the 49ers. Yeah, so let me pull up the bracket again really quickly. Here's the bracket. So here's my pick. So I'm taking the Packers to beat the 49ers. I'm taking the Rams to beat the Buccaneers. So if the Rams win and the Packers win, then they play each other next. If the Buccaneers beat the Rams, then it would be Packers versus Buccaneers. I did predict before the playoffs started that we would see another Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers. We would see a Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers playoff game, which would be pretty cool. But I do think that the Rams are going to beat the Bucs just because the Rams are more talented than the Bucs right now. And then the Titans are going to beat the Bengals today. That's the game that's coming up in less than an hour now. And when that happens, they're going to play the winner of the Bills versus the Chiefs. I flip-flopped on this Bills-Chiefs game at least 3 times just this week. I'm leaning with the Chiefs, though. I'm sticking steady with the Chiefs. They were my original Super Bowl winner pick, and I think that the Chiefs aren't going to lose at home to the Bills twice in the same season. And they're going to score more than 20 points than they did when they played back in week 5. They only scored 20 points. This is a much different Chiefs team now. I do not want to pick against Patrick Mahomes. Perfect picks. Wow. We had what? I think you were the first person, someone in the TikTok live comments, saying that these were the perfect picks. Guys, if you're watching live on YouTube, I'm going to wrap up today's live stream over the next 10 minutes just on the TikTok live and a reverse of what we usually do in the fantasy season. But thank you so much for tuning in if you're on the YouTube live. I'll be live 10 more minutes on the TikTok live, then I'll be wrapping up.